Ah, the holidays, a time of family, fun, and overwhelm. If the thought of spending time with family or navigating the stress of the season makes you feel anxious, you are not alone. But there's good news. With a little planning and the right mindset, you can not only survive the holidays, but actually enjoy them with my 5 steps for a joyful season. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. Abby Medcalf here. So nice to have you. And it's that time. Yeah. Yes. This is my 7th season of the podcast. So there's 6 others if you want to go back and look. You know what? We'll link to them in the show notes or on the podcast page, on the relationship tips and tools page in the blog, and under the video. If you're watching me on YouTube, hello. I'm trying to wear kind of a Christmassy sweater. If you can check it out. Sorry, those of you who are like listening, going, I don't know what she looks like. Because I was thinking ahead. I'm like, let me wear kind of a holiday thing to talk about the holidays. But we will have a link to all those episodes for you with all kinds of tips and tools and all sorts of things that might be helpful if the holidays are stressful for you. Uh, but, and I do mean all the holidays. I just said a Christmas type sweater when, I'm a nice Jewish girl and I celebrate Hanukkah, but this could be, I know by the time I'm recording this, Canada has already had their Thanksgiving. But I'm doing this kind of in front of the United States Thanksgiving and, Christmas and Hanukkah and Diwali and all the things that can happen at this time of year for everyone. And of course, the new year, switching over into 2025. Amazing. So let's talk about why the holidays can feel overwhelming. Let's just go there first before we get into my tips. The you know, the holiday season can really trigger stress, obviously for a lot of reasons. I think there's the pressure of great, gift giving. You've got, especially if you've been that person before, you have to keep it up, right? I think managing travel plans. A lot of people are spending money they don't have. We're overindulging on booze and food and the money. But the biggest culprit I see by far is managing family dynamics. That tends to bring the most anxiety. And it's not just in your head, my friend. I went and looked. I'm like, is there actually research on this? Is this real? And as you know, I always link to all that in the show notes and on the blog post page and below the videos on YouTube. Please remember to like and subscribe if you're watching me there. And if you'd give a shout out review for the podcast, I would really appreciate it. It means a lot. And I love to read them, by the way. And it brings more attention to the podcast the more reviews we have. So if you want to help me and give me love as I give you love, that's a great way to do it. So there is a lot of research, and it shows that family gatherings often rekindle, old conflicts. They definitely increase stress levels and absolutely contribute to feelings of anxiety. So, it could be your uncle making political comments at the dinner table, or your mother questioning every life choice you've ever made. Family members can push your buttons like nobody else, right? So the good news is that you don't have to fall into these old patterns. So you can set yourself up for success, but with the right preparation. And this is the reason this year that I'm putting out this video or this episode as early as possible. I think this is coming out the first week of November. If I do it too early, people kind of miss it. But I'm trying to really again, sorry, Canadians, for missing your Thanksgiving, but I'm trying to really get as ahead of the game as possible because it's all about prep. I'm really gonna be hitting this home. So let's talk about my 5 steps to an awesome holiday season. Step 1, are we there? Is you gotta set your intentions for the holidays and be the dominant vibration in the room. And let's get there. And you know what? If you do nothing else and do this, you will absolutely change your holiday season. I'm telling you right now, this is the biggest game changer I've got for you today. The other ones are really going to help, obviously, but this is the steak. This is the lobster. This is the mushrooms if you're a vegetarian. This is the main thing, the main meat. That sounds weird. All right. I had a dirty mind too. I know I went there. Okay. Uh, I'm going to call Gary that when he comes home tonight. The main meat. Um, I started calling Gary funny names like my sweet baboo and things, and he doesn't not enjoy it, but I enjoy it very much. So we'll see how long that goes. Okay. Before the season begins, it's crucial to get clear on how you want to feel during this season. I'm telling you, take this moment, think about it. How do I want to feel? I've, of course, talked so much about the effectiveness of, again, like setting intention. There's no better time than now to start consciously setting your intentions. And the real bang for your buck comes when you set an intention in the moment, like right before walking into a party or, right before you walk in your parents' home. And I'll get to that before I'm done with this step. But the first step is on keeping your intentions front and center when you're making decisions and plans for the holidays. And when you know how you want to feel, it's going to help you decide what you do. And I'm going to talk about this when I talk about I'll talk about it right now. When you're planning 2025 and all your goals for, New Year's is obviously part of the holiday season. I want you to think about how you want to feel in 2025, and the goals should go from there. I talk about this a lot. In my business, if I want to feel really relaxed, I want 2025 to be a year of relaxation in my business, then I'm not going to be starting 80 new things. I'm going to be looking at my different quarters, right? And I'm going to be thinking about how to maybe put different things in each quarter so that it doesn't feel like there's too much going on. And I'm going to take things off the plate. Do you know what I mean? So the goals are going to follow how I want to feel. But a lot of times people make the goal and then they say, "Oh, I want to feel relaxed or whatever. Or I want to feel connected. I want to feel really connected in my relationships," but they don't have any time. Or I want to really love I have a goal to really work on my self-love this year. But then it's like work again. But how do you want to feel? And then work it back from there, because then you might even decide, well, what things do I want to do? Maybe it's just travel for my self-love, Maybe it's not spending as much time with my family. Maybe it's spending more time with my family. Because then again, the goal will come from the feeling. Okay. But let's get right here. So whenever a thought about the holidays hits you, or you notice that you're getting, anxious as you make plans, stop and set your intention. Whatever mine always, I want to feel connection, joy, and ease with my family or in my days or whatever. I want to feel relaxed and I want to feel enthusiastic about traveling and preparing for the holidays. And studies show that having clear intentions, and this is what the big thing is, it improves your emotional regulation as well as your decision making. So that means that when you set intention more and more, when you're very clear about what you're setting yourself up for, what happens is your emotional regulation, meaning your ability to regulate your emotions, to not, lose your shit and get upset about things, to not feel quote unquote emotional about family or seeing people or whatever. And all of that, you're able to do better and you're able to make better decisions. So I can't stress enough how game changing this simple step is. So again, if you're thinking of the holidays, sorry, and you want to feel relaxed, you got to make sure you schedule downtime in between events or things you're doing, or choose only a few gatherings to attend. Again, do you see how the goals kind of follow how you want to feel? So even if you're traveling to be with family, you don't have to do everything that's on the agenda. Now's the time to notice also any fatalistic language you're using. Because I know right now, some of you, literally after that, you're going to think I can read your mind. Get ready. You thought, oh, but my family would be so upset if I missed something. I know it. That's where you went just now. Admit it. Come on, under the video or write me an email. You're right, Abby. Or you're thinking things like, oh, but my mother's going to drive me crazy. I know it. She does every holiday season. Or, oh my gosh, wrangling the kids is going to be a nightmare while we're away. There's a time change or whatever. But Instead of those fatalistic thoughts, settle your mind gently, lovingly, non-judgmentally, and come back to your intention. Ask yourself, what kind of holiday do I want to co-create? Remember, what do I say all the time? You co-create every relationship you're in. Again, how do I want to feel? Then remind yourself that you are a powerful co-creator. You can do this, right? You can do this. And as I said, you'll also be using this technique directly before. So, you're going to do it in the big planning, but then also directly before entering a party or a family dinner or whatever, or right before you walk in the house or the restaurant, or when you hear the doorbell, if the fun is at your house, you're going to stop. Just take a nice deep breath with a long, slow exhale and remind yourself of your intention for that meal or time, right? It's my intention to be warm and loving. It's my intention to be in my moments and remember that I can take care of myself. It's my intention to be patient and kind. It's my intention to connect with everyone. It's my intention to make eye contact with everyone and make sure I make a connection. Setting intention, I call it the 18-second shift. I have a little quick video about it also, and I've done episodes on attention and intention. I've done a lot of work around this already. So if you want more on this and just really want to get nitty gritty, I have all that for you. And so that's all real. And then remember, I said setting intention and being the dominant vibration in the room. I talk about this a lot. This is the last step to this part of the plan, is to be the dominant vibration in the room. And I will link to an episode I did on this. I just did literally on this subject. But basically what I hear a lot is someone will say, well, I was in a good mood and then my partner came home in a bad mood and then I was in a bad mood. Or I was really happy at work and then my boss came in and acted like a jerk and then it ruined my day. This is such victim talk. And I say with love, I love you, but I'm going to be straight with you. It's victim BS. This idea, first of all, that you always have to go towards the negative vibration in a room, right? That the negative wins. Why? Why isn't it that you were in a good mood and your boss came in crappy and that your boss calibrated to your mood? Why is that not possible? Why is it that your partner comes home in a bad mood, but your good mood actually sustains? And that's what happens. Think about just the assumptions we make in this idea that anyone who's in a bad mood, we go to that. It's really sad. And it's, again, victim language. And being a victim will get you nowhere. I need you to be the dominant vibration. When you set this intention and you have that rolling, I'm telling you, people come in, they can feel it, number one. Remember what I always say, that for the work of Timothy Wilson, right? Our conscious brains are processing information at a rate of 40 bits per second, while our subconscious is processing at 11 million bits per second. So people feel it. They know it, right? I spend so much time on being the dominant vibration in the room. And yeah, because I'm bossy. Yeah. That's part of it. But also but I'm trying it for good, not evil. I want to be the dominant vibration that is calm or loving or accepting or whatever it is that I'm focused on, right? I want that energy to come in. So when people, sometimes, mine used to always be the house everybody came to for holidays and things. And I'd be busy cooking all day and even in the cooking all day, I would constantly be resetting, making sure I didn't feel rushed, making sure I was enjoying the cooking. Because I love to cook. But if I didn't love to cook, I would order in or do something else. I wouldn't kill myself to make all this food for people that when I hated it, because that's going to be in the food. The hate is going to be in the food, the resentment, all that's going to be in the food. No, thank you. So I really want you to think about, right, being the dominant vibration in the room. And I have a calibration exercise that it's a little, I think it's 6 minutes. It's on YouTube. Again, it's free, I'll link to it again in all the places I said. Or you can just go on YouTube and put Abby Medcalf calibration exercise. It'll pop up. This is a great one to bookmark that. Use it over and over and over. I made sure that the commercials came off of anything in the middle. So there's no commercials in the middle. So you can just listen all the way through. Thank you. Someone gave feedback once about them being there. There was commercials in the middle of the meditation. You're just getting into it, and then it's like, hey, buy something. Anyway, so none of my, I have different loving kindness meditation, other things on there. All of them, they have commercials, I think, at the beginning and end, not in the middle. But you can listen to this calibration exercise, and it is so great, and it'll change you right away. So if you do nothing else, do that. Okay? All right. Step 2 is to anticipate family dynamics and prepare your responses. I am shocked at how people are always surprised at how their family acts. Right? Because let's face it, there are always those family members who seem to push every button, right? I shared on here for many, many years when my mother was alive. She died in 2020. And, she was a narcissist. A real one, like a diagnosed one. And I struggled a lot. I would get every button pushed, buttons I didn't even know I have. And I had to work really hard on that. So I get it, and even when I'm with my siblings, old dynamics come up. I'm the baby of the family. And there's sometimes some weirdness where people are still treating me like, the baby, and I'm a very adult woman. And sometimes that can push buttons, or I think family members just fall into old roles, even as we've changed. I definitely had been at many a meal in my 30s and 40s and 50s, feeling like a teenager. You know what I mean? Like some sort of pissed off teenager, just because I fell into an old role, and I'm human. So no matter, it could just be constant questioning about your job or your relationship status, or, why you're not settled down yet, or why you haven't had kids yet, or, but whatever it is, preparing for these moments is key to keeping you cool. And there's a lot of research, again, I always link to it, on emotional regulation. And it shows that preparing for emotionally triggering situations helps reduce their impact. And I will say I'll link to it. I have a whole episode on managing your emotions. And if you've bought my Boundaries Made Easy book, Your Roadmap to Connection, Ease, and Joy, you will find a whole chapter in there about managing your emotions and how to do it, my step-by-step guide. Also, by the way, the workbook is coming out in December, so probably after you hear this, but the Boundaries Made Easy workbook is coming out. It's actually pretty done. We're just putting all the finishing touches on, and so that'll absolutely be out before the holidays. What a lovely gift. Yes, for others, but for yourself too. So I need you to be ready, right? Be ready, not surprised. And what do I always say? Keep your expectations low, but your standards high. I did an entire episode on that. I'll link to that. But, you've got to, again, have high standards. Those are your boundaries. Your boundaries are made up of your standards of what you will and won't accept. But your expectations for people being able to meet them all the time, should be lower. It doesn't mean that you don't follow through on your boundary when they're not met. Of course you do. But you should understand that can happen. And I'm going to actually talk about how to plan a little more in the next step. So get ready for that. But I do want you to plan your responses ahead of time for, the common family triggers, right? So if you have an Aunt Kay who always asks why you're still, why are you still single? Know that I'm going to see Aunt Kay. She's going to be at the dinner. She always asks about my relationship status and I'm single. Instead of being like, I don't want to go because everyone's going to talk about my being single and bug me about it. Instead, decide you won't be bugged about it. Decide you won't talk about it. That's you setting intention and being the dominant vibration. And have a lighthearted but firm response ready. Say the same thing over and over like a mantra. I'm enjoying my life and focusing on what makes me happy right now, Aunt Kay. And boom, and just change the subject. And how is your dog? Just keep going. You don't have to get so pissed that Aunt Kay keeps asking. Just it doesn't help. If it helped, I would tell you, yes, be angry and resentful all day. But it doesn't help. It stops you from enjoying other things. It stops you from even going to these things. Or you go with this huge chip on your shoulder, ready for the big argument, so that even if Aunt Kay says something else, you think she's, oh, she's just trying to ask about this, but they told her not to, or whatever bullshit is in your head. Excuse my language, but there you go. And do you know what I mean? And you're still caught up in the anger and the resentment and the frustration. It's not helpful. So just have a little response right there, right there, right there. Do you hear me snapping? And move right along. And then I've shared this many times on here, but I have a favorite response that I use that works in every situation, every single one. Like if your uncle starts talking politics, or if your mother wants to chat about how your partner is treating you, or your dad asks while you're still in that dead end job, right? Any of those things, it doesn't matter. You answer with so much love in your heart because you walked in with those great intentions. You say, Mom, Dad, brother, sister, best friend, Aunt Kay, whoever. There are so many things I'm excited to talk to you about, and this isn't one of them. And then jump directly into something you do want to discuss. But let me tell you how, Max hit a home run the other day in Little League, oh my God, I'm so excited. Did I tell you I finally started a pottery class? Yes, I've been talking about taking a pottery class for 10 years and I'm finally doing it. It's so fun. And here's what's happening and blah, blah, blah. Just move along. Or my other favorite, people love to talk. Ask them a question. You again say, there's so many things I'm excited to talk to you about. This isn't one of them. And then you could say, but now tell me how you're feeling. I heard that you had a little health scare recently, Aunt Kay, or I want to hear all about how my niece is doing at school. I'm sad she couldn't be here today, or whatever. Be prepared. There's so much you can do there. All right. Step 3, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say set your boundaries proactively and hold them in the moment. Okay? Now, let me just talk about that. Setting them proactively and then holding them in the moment. So, because you're never getting through an episode anymore without me talking about, or certainly not an episode about family dynamics. I'm not going to talk about boundaries. Hello. I do have an episode on if you feel guilty when you set boundaries. So I'm not going to get deep into that here and I'll just link to it. But again, this is why I wrote a book on this subject. If you haven't gotten my Boundaries Made Easy book yet, I'm not sure what you're waiting on. And I don't know if a lot of people know, I'm looking behind me here because I have a stack of my books behind me, but I have an Amazon #1 best-selling book that I wrote before called Be Happily Married Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing. All my books are on Audible, by the way, with my lovely voice, my melodious voice, which I know you love because you're listening. So if you want to get them that way, you're welcome to, especially if you already have Audible. It's like free or included or whatever. So I just do want to say, I do have I just don't talk about, I usually talk about the most recent thing, but yeah, get the book already, do it before the holidays, get yourself a gift. But I also have, if you don't have any money, that's fine. There's tons of free information on the website. So just boundaries is a keyword. It'll all come up. Okay. Because I'm here for you, whether you have money or not, I'm going to help you. So boundaries are they're always non-negotiable, but I think they're especially non-negotiable during the holidays. So again, whether that's saying no to attending every event or limiting time with certain family members, you got to be clear on what you need and what you will and won't tolerate before you go to an event or have people to yours, right? People to your house. Again, I know you might feel guilty when you set boundaries, especially with family members, but the research shows that healthy boundaries are crucial for your mental well-being and reducing those feelings of overwhelm. That's why it's especially important over the holidays when there's a lot of overwhelm anyway. And you're going to need to expect that people will be upset when you hold your boundaries. You'll do better when you expect that someone might be upset and you practice, right? So here's what you have to practice. Let's get nitty-gritty. Number 1 is you have to remember you're not responsible for someone else's reaction ever. Ever. I want you to sit with that for a minute. If you're saying, no, what about if you hit somebody, Abby? You're still not responsible for the reaction. You might hit someone and they'll cower away. You might hit someone and they'll hit you back. You might hit someone and they'll scream and yell. It's not you hitting them. I'm not saying you should hit anyone, but like I'm going to that extreme with you because you think that, I hear this stuff all the time. Well, anyone would be angry, Abby. Anybody would be mad about that. No, anybody wouldn't. There are people, everyone reacts different ways to different things, even horrible things like racist comments or, bigotry or misogyny or anti-Semitism. People react differently. They do. Some react with violence, some don't. Some react not at all. Some walk away. Some yell, say something back. Some people are very measured in their response. It is not about the other person ever. It is not about you. It is about them. And you're gonna need to get this because you're gonna, oh, my family would be so upset if I don't go to all the things. Yeah, they might be. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna need to get past that. Or, yeah, my mom was really angry that I wouldn't stay and clean up like I do every friggin' year. Yep. Yeah. I always tell people, you can tell how long overdue a boundary is by how upset other people get. And generally it is them being selfish, not you. I've said this over and over, and I have a whole episode on healthy selfishness, so go listen. Okay? Number 2, it's not your job to make others comfortable. It is not your job. I know maybe you were trained from birth that it was your job, that how other people felt was your responsibility, but it is not your job to make others comfortable. It is your job to be loving and kind. It is your job to have loving intentions, but that you can say something. I think the thing I get asked the most is, well, how do I say it to them so they don't get upset? You can't. There is no perfect way to say it. There's only a way that you don't get upset. I'm going to say that again. There's no way to say it that they won't get, there's no perfect way. They might get upset. Doesn't matter how perfectly you say something. Your goal needs to be that you're not upset, that you're not anxious and overwhelmed and angry and resentful and frustrated. So you're going to say the thing and you might be uncomfortable because you're not used to it in the beginning. After a while, believe it or not, I'm really good at boundaries in a lot of ways now. Not perfect. There's plenty of relationships and spaces and times when when I have to really push myself. There's a lot of places now where I used to say yes so easily that I now sort of easily say no. And if you had told me 10 years ago that would be true, I would have told you were a liar. So it really is like a practice makes perfect kind of thing. You really do get better at it the more you do it. So it is not your job to make others comfortable. You have to remember that. The third thing you have to remember, and this is one of my favorite little tools, is instead of thinking, what can I do to make this better? Shift your thought to, what can I think to make this better? The doing is the codependency. The doing is the fawning. The doing is the unhealthy sympathy versus empathy. That's the doing. What can I do? Oh, what should I do? What should I do? Nope, it's not your responsibility. But what can you think to make this better? Then take a breath and spend a minute shifting what your thoughts are about what's happening. And then come from that compassionate, empathetic place, right? You can think, my mom is doing the best of the resources she has. It makes sense that my dad is so upset since I've never drawn this boundary before. Do you know what I mean? I think my sister is so angry about this, and I have to remember it's because she loves me. She thinks I'm in some kind of danger dating this guy. That's why she's harping on it. And I know that he's a good guy or whatever. Or it could even be that the other person is jealous or has negative reasons why. It doesn't matter. You can come from a compassionate, empathetic place. And when you think differently about the situation, you will feel differently. Because why? Because you feel the way you think. Say it over and over, and that's the truth of it. The fourth thing I want you to keep in mind is don't lie or minimize. Be direct and clear up front with your boundaries. I'm not able to attend this year, but I'll be thinking of you. As opposed to, I'll do my best to be there, but, I can't make any promises or anything. I'll try, even though you're not going. You're not going, or you don't want to go. But you're like kicking the can down the road because in the moment it feels uncomfortable to just say no. And again, I have chapters in the book of how to say no and stick to it, and what to do when people won't take no for an answer. And again, you can search for that on the website. There's lots of places where I give you help around this, but it's really time for you to put on your big boy or big girl pants and big person pants and move past this true just crap of getting so caught up in not in other people being upset. And so I don't want to say the thing because I'm so uncomfortable. It's time, my sweetie, love you. It's time to take responsibility, to stand up for yourself and say the thing. It's time to practice being uncomfortable a little bit. It'll get better. It will with practice. It's going to be the worst in the beginning and it'll get better and better. And the fifth thing I want to say is that you have to stick to whatever you said. Don't be swayed by the pressure of other people's wants or desires. If you said something, follow through on something. Now, when I talk about doing all this beforehand, being proactive, I shared, I think I share it in the book too, but it's just one of my favorite stories about great boundaries. Is a client I had who had, it's a long story, but basically she had lost a lot of weight and she was seeing her family for Memorial Day here. It was like, her family got together for every holiday you can imagine. And they were all getting together for Memorial Day. She hadn't seen them in a few months because she lives in another state. She was flying in, big family thing. And she sent an email that I read with her first. Like she sent it to me. We talked about it and it was so beautiful. And she just said, I know I've lost weight. I still have some weight I'm trying to lose, because she had altogether lost over 100 pounds. This is before Ozempic. She'd really been working on it over the course of a year. And I think at the time she had been like 60 pounds down. And she said, I don't want to talk about my food, dieting, my weight. I don't want any comments about my body. Just please be there with me. I have so many things that are going on in my life. Ask about my work, ask about my, or she had a daughter. Her daughter was doing real, ask about your niece. Like she really wrote a great thing. And she said, if people talk about my weight or ask me questions about it or comment on my body, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave and we'll just try again another time. That's how she said it. And we'll try again another time. And she had a brother who was especially problematic in this area. So she sent this email to everybody and got weird responses from everyone. It was very strange. But as you'd expect, people were so uncomfortable with this direct way of drawing a boundary. But her brother, she knew. So she sent him a text also and said, hey, want to make sure you got the email. I just really want to have a good time. I want to connect with you. I want to see you. I love you. I miss you. So I want to make sure nothing gets in the way. And I've asked about this. And sure enough, she's at the party and her brother is fine for 5 minutes and then says something about her body and her weight and what she's eating. And right away, she's like, hey, I told you in the email and I texted you. And what did he say? He said, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot you were so sensitive about it. I'm sorry. I forgot. Right. Expecting that she would stay because, he apologized now. But we all know what would happen if she had stayed, if she hadn't followed through. Because remember, it's not a boundary unless you follow through on what you said you were going to do. Telling her brother, don't talk about my weight, wasn't the boundary. The boundary was, don't talk about my weight or I will physically leave. That's the boundary. And so, she knew if she just said, oh, okay, don't do it again, he was going to do it again. Of course he was, please, because she wasn't keeping the boundary. So she didn't make a big thing of it, a big stink. She just said, okay, we'll try again another time. That's how she said it, just like that. She said she practiced in the mirror. She went and got, her bag. And she left. She didn't say goodbye to everybody. She didn't anything. She did to her parents. She let her parents know. And they, of course, were very upset, hand wringing happening. Oh my God, you can't go. It's not okay. And he didn't mean it. He won't do it again. And we'll make sure we didn't say anything. You shouldn't ruin. And then they got mad at her. Why are you being so sensitive? This is too much. You can't expect people to blah, blah, blah. All the things, trying to guilt her, getting mad at her, trying every pressure tactic they had. She did not fall for it. And she left. And I'll tell you that they then had something in July because this family, for July 4th, because this family got together for every holiday. And she sent the email again saying, just a reminder, I was glad I got to spend some time with you all in May, but just a reminder, sent her brother another reminder saying, I was really sad to leave, but I understand that maybe it was just too much for you, wanting to talk about these things with me that I don't want to talk about. So just a reminder, I'm hoping we can really connect. Loving and kind. And guess what? He did not say anything. And she was able to stay the whole party. So I'm just saying, and it might not have gone, he did say something again later. She was there in November for something, and he said something. And again, she kept the boundary and left. Like he was testing it later. But again, it's not going to be a perfect straight road, but it will really help when you hold the boundary in a loving, clear way. But notice how she set it up beforehand. She was clear beforehand. So, but you could also say, like, I'm not gonna, hey, we're really excited to see you all for Christmas or Hanukkah. I know the family spends the whole day sledding on Saturday. We're not going to be doing that, but we'll see you for dinner. We'll be there for the breakfast, and we'll definitely see you for dinner. We're not going to be there during the sled event or whatever. And yeah, you'll get pushback. Why? How come? Blah, blah, blah. Just don't answer. And if you have to answer at some point, say, because we're not going. You don't have to justify or explain why. Say, it's just not in our plans this year. We're doing other stuff, but can't wait to see you for dinner. Bye. Cut off the conversation. You don't owe anyone an explanation. But when you set people up for the expectation, it's very helpful. A lot of people don't do it because they're afraid that they're giving other people too much room to push back. But don't be afraid. Remember, no love relationship was made better by fear. Ever, ever, ever. Okay? Ever. Did I say ever? I meant ever. Step 4, plan self-care activities. The holidays are notorious for being filled, right, with activities that revolve around others. Family dinners, social gatherings, parties, things, right? But don't forget, you've got to keep that time just for you. And there's a lot of studies on self-care. I've talked about self-care in a previous episode, which I'll link to. I give a lot of the research there, although I'll put some research in this particular episode. But studies on self-care show that maintaining personal rituals and downtime during high stress periods reduces anxiety, and it will boost your resilience. So, and I know I hear it, I have no time, but you have to have time. You do have time. You've just allotted it to other things, a priority over yourself. Don't you ever say again, I don't have time, because you do. Because you make time for all kinds of things all day. It's like when people tell me, oh, I'm a saver, not a spender. I'm like, you're full of crap. You spend. Everyone spends. There's not a person alive who doesn't spend money in some way. It's just what you decide to spend your money on. Maybe you save more than you spend. I don't know. But you still spend. So this judgment you have, I have no time, is such victim BS. I can't even. Please stop. I say with love. I'm being your bossy Jewish mother right now. You got to stop. It's just victim mindset that other people are more important. Other things are more important than you. Your kids, you're this, you're that. You can't fill a cup from an empty pitcher. Can't do it. So if you're saying it's because of your kids that you don't have time, and what a lousy thing to model for them. That, like, I hope you don't have daughters or sons either. So any women, either your daughters will think this later, or your sons will think it about their partners later if they're straight, that women are disposable, that women's needs should always come last. That's what you're training other people how to treat you. So please stop. Please stop. I've done it too. I'm guilty too. I've been there where I felt like my little, I will say maybe infant children I will give you. But even then, if you're a single mother with infant kids, really tiny children, it's going to be really hard to find some time. But even that, I would say right before you fall asleep, take a minute, think of what you appreciate about your life. Something. There's something you could do. Something. Although I would tell you that's the hardest, right? But anything you are from there, create time. You create it. You are the master of your time. Master it. So you've got to put yourself first and make sure that your basic needs are met. So, continue to create time for exercise or meditation or eating, even just eating, not even healthy eating. I have clients who don't even eat, or whatever else you normally do for self-care. Hopefully you do 5 minutes of deep breathing, 2 minutes of deep breathing or meditation. can help calm your nervous system and reduce holiday stress. So, and I'd say the biggest piece of self-care is to ensure you incorporate some breaks for yourself. If you do nothing, nothing else. And that could be going for a quick walk, taking a long shower, taking a long bathroom break. I myself don't like to stay with relatives. When I go visit, when I'm doing things, I don't care how big their house is and I won't even see them. I want to be able to physically leave, go to a hotel. And I know I get, especially my poor Brazilian clients, they're like, I could never do that. My family would disown me. I get that there's a lot of cultural pieces here, but you have to find a way to, if you're miserable in that scenario, it doesn't work because you start to equate misery with your family. It's okay to have new cultural celebrations. It's okay to create a new culture around certain things. It's okay to create new traditions. And for me, that means staying at a hotel, like so that I can leave when I want, I can go lay down, I can come. It's easier to miss things, like, oh, I didn't get up in time to have the family breakfast or something. It just makes it easier to have some space. So however you do that, do it. And then step 5 is embrace the joy. I know, really. Amidst all the stress, don't forget that the holidays are also about connection, joy, and celebration, right? Take time to enjoy the little moments. I don't care if it's a delicious meal, a heartfelt conversation, cozying up with a favorite holiday movie. Focusing on appreciation in your moments will absolutely help shift your mindset and allow you to really savor the good parts of the season. And I always sort of joke that I hate gratitude. I don't really. But I want to say this. Try this around a table, like when you're all sitting there, instead of saying what you're grateful for, say what you appreciate in the moment. Gratitude is outside. We say things like, oh, I'm grateful for this beautiful home I live in. I'm grateful I have a job. I'm grateful for my family. Those things they all have a negative within them. I'm grateful for my home means I'm grateful I'm not homeless. I'm grateful for my family, meaning I'm grateful I'm not alone. I'm grateful, the negative is in it. And it's very distant from us in the moment. Your home, I'm grateful to live, I don't know, in a nice area. It's so big. Your feelings aren't always connected to that. But if you were to hold your hands around the Thanksgiving table, like we do in my house, and you said one thing you appreciate right now in this moment, it totally shifts the energy. I mean, 1,000%. When you go around a table and everyone says, oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, it's like a list. When you go around and say, wow, I'm so grateful to be holding my brother's hand right now, that he's in the room with me and I haven't seen him for 6 months, that's very different than I'm really grateful we're all here together. I'm grateful for that we all have something nice to eat. If it's, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so much appreciation right now for all these beautiful smells. I'm thinking about how hard, mom worked in the kitchen today, or dad, in my house, it was my dad, was in the kitchen all day, thinking of us, preparing for us, creating this beautiful food. It fills my heart. Do you hear the difference? Then I'm grateful for all the food. There's a very different thing when you focus on appreciation. Okay, so try it. Just try it. Give it a little go. See what happens. So let's just wrap up. A quick holiday preparation plan, 5 steps to sanity. Here you go, right? We're just going to put it all together in 5, like a simple 5-step plan to prepare for, again, a joyful, calm holiday season. So that number 1 would be to set intentions, write down how you want to feel and what kind of holiday experience you want, and then set those intentions often. 2 would be identify any family triggers you think, list any potential family conflicts or dynamics that might cause you stress and prepare some neutral responses or have those ones at the ready that I mentioned. Number 3 would be to set those boundaries, be clear with your family up front about what you will and won't do, decide what events and to attend and how much time to spend at each of them. Yeah, we're going to be coming to this. We have to leave after an hour, whatever it is, and communicate those limits very clearly. 4 would be, again, prioritize self-care, schedule time for rest, exercise, mindfulness, whatever your thing is. And then 5 would be to practice appreciation, maybe gratitude. You know, at the end of each day, reflect on what you're grateful for, what you appreciate, or in those moments, those positive moments, focus on what you're appreciating in a moment as you talk to someone, as you eat something, as you drink something, as you see a view, whatever it is, as you're having fun laughing with your kids, take a moment and feel your appreciation for that moment. And I'm telling you that when you take these steps, you're going to be more prepared to really navigate the holidays with grace, maintaining your peace and joy, even when there's challenging interactions, even when there's a lot of stress around you, even when there's a lot of, tumult and anything else going on, you'll find that you have space to be in grace. And I love that word. And that's what I think that's what I wish for you more than anything during this holiday season is grace, joy, connection, enthusiasm. I want all those things for you and that deep appreciation. I know that right now I am deeply appreciating you. I love doing this. I so appreciate the connection we have, the beautiful, beautiful emails you write me, the DMs, the reviews of the podcast also, or the beautiful comments maybe under a video on YouTube. They fill my heart. They make this all so worthwhile because I truly feel connected to you. And a reminder that to have even more connection, I'm going to be starting what's called a Patreon. It's a paid community starting it's not going to be a lot. We haven't decided the price point yet, but it's going to be something like $5 a month, to join. And then there'll be, maybe you could pay a little more money to have more time with me. We'll decide how that looks as we get closer. But we'll be introducing that sometime in December of 2024, and it'll happen, letting you know about it more concretely. And then it'll start happening in 2025. For sure, you'll be able to listen to the podcast for free without ads. I will definitely have times, and then there'll be times when, depends on how many times, that's what we're trying to decide, that I will be available to answer your questions more directly. I definitely want to do something where there's a live component so I can really be bouncing right off of you and we could have that kind of interaction, which I would love, because that would be just the best. So maybe take a podcast, and talk about your specific stuff that's going on, or just a topic and, or a question you have that you want answered. I used to call those Ask Dr. Abby's. So we'll be doing those in that community. And for me, it's like 7 years of doing this. It's or 6.5 now. It's this kind of next progression into what I want, which is more connection, which is to feel like I'm helping even more, which is to feel, just a deeper love in how I'm relating to you. And so this seemed like the natural next best thing. All right. I love you so much. I wish you an amazing holiday season filled with all the things you deserve, with every dream you've ever had. And but for now, I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Love you. Mwah.